Hi everyone, and in this video we're gonna continue our configuration with SQL Server 2022. And what I'm gonna do, we have already installed the database engine, we have created the database, and now as a next step, what I'll do, I'll just configure the master data service which has been installed as part of in the SQL Server 22. So let me just bring the interface, and now as soon as you bring that interface for the configuration, it is complaining that the master data service cannot be configured because it is missing the prereq, which is the Internet Information Services, right? So we first gonna fix that, and then we'll come back to this interface to continue our configuration. So in order to install the IIS on the Windows server, because I'm on my server operating system. So what I'll do, I'll just go to my server manager, and in here, let me go to the manage, and you can see in the manage, I have the option to add roles and feature. Let me hit that, and that it will let me go through the wizard, and through that wizard I can add additional feature. So with all these features which generally we call in term of server the roles, you can use the server manager to install them, or you can use the PowerShell to install if you have the PowerShell script and if you are administering multiple servers, right? So for this video I'm going to use the interface. So let's go ahead. Yeah, role-based and feature-based installation. By the way, you can install on the remote machine as well. Yeah, that's my server. And what role I'm going to do, like I mentioned, we need the web server, which is IIS. So you can see the roles are there. There are multiple. You can configure the Active Directory if you want to make the Active Directory a server. If you can install the DHCP server, you can. And these are all the roles which provide you all the functionality to configure the respective services which are coming as part of the Microsoft Server tech stack. So in this case, we are only interested with web server. So let me just do that. It's gonna ask you to add some dependencies. Yeah, we want to include this, add this feature. And by the way, I'm going to keep it minimum at this stage, because that's where the whole security comes into the picture. Make sure you always install the minimum features which is required. You obviously can go and configure the additional features if you need to, but always remember, as part of the configuration is always a best practice to install the minimum option once you are configuring the role. That will obviously boost the security of your server in the production environment. So I'm not going to add any additional features at this stage until unless I have been asked from the MDS that we need some more information, also more feature, right? So I think we are pretty good at this stage. I'm just reviewing all the features which have been part of it. So yeah, we are good. So let's hit next. And these are the features we are able to see, and you can see it's the minimum we are going to install. By the way, under the security, I'm also going to hit the Windows authentication, because that's some we need for our IIS. That will allow us to use the Windows-based Active Directory-based authentication if you want to use the username and password, which is part of our domain. So rest, I'm gonna keep it minimum at this stage, and we'll see if it will fix the issue in the MDS, right? So let me hit next. Yeah, we are good. I'm not going to restart the server automatically. So let me just hit install. So installation process has started. Let me see if if it's going to be quick or it's gonna take time. What I'll do, I'll continue my recording once the installation completes. All right, so the installation succeeded on our server. We can see the message, and we can now safely close this wizard. And let me just close this MDS configuration window and reopen it to just see whether it's going to fix. All right, so now the error has changed. If you can look closely, previously it is asking for the IIS role to be missing, but now it is now more specific with some additional information that include ASP.NET, .NET extensibility, IIS API extension, IIS API filter, request monitor, and dynamic content compression, right? So and we also need to WCF service HTTP activation is enabled. So let me see if I can copy this message in my window. I'm gonna do, let me just. Yeah, so I think that's better. Let me just keep it on the side. And what I'll do, I'll go back and add the feature into my install role. So let me see. Yeah, feature installation. Let me hit add and role. Yeah, close this, and I'm going to now start again. And this time I'm going to install the feature. Yeah, I'm going to same visit, but this time, let's see. Yeah, web server, let me open that. It's a bit painful activity, but tell you the truth, it's gonna actually return a lot at the longer term, because if you keep the option minimum, that will really make your administrative life easy. Otherwise, you have heard about all these breaches, and which is actually the additional option that has been selected. And obviously the hackers and the bad guys, they look for all these gaps. All right, so okay, I think I need to minimize this background. Yeah, now we are good. Looks like I'm unable to manage it side by side. So what I can do, let me take it up. Okay, just bear with me. What I'll do, I think I need to take it to my host machine. It's better. I want to keep it side by side so I can select the right option while I'm installing. I'm just waiting for a screenshot to be pop up. Another way, let me see if I can, how about that's better. Just trying to copy these options across. Yeah, all good. So I don't need. So the very first thing I need to enable is complaining about let me see if that option is available in here. HTTP redirection, we don't need. Web dev, we don't need that. Yeah, and I'm gonna show you at the end the options the MDS is requiring. So I think at this stage we are all good. We don't need anything from here. Health and diagnostic. Let me see if it is asking any. No, it's not asking anything in here. Security we have already selected. Windows authentication, request filtering. Do we need basic authentication? We don't need as part of the configuration. And let me see, it's asking ASP.NET. And I think, let me select 3.5. Yeah, we need that. And I believe the rest is all good. Yeah, so I think from the IIS role itself, we are good. So let's hit next. Yeah, we have selected in here. Do we need HTTP activation? No, we don't need it, and not neither a non-HTTP activation. But what we need in here, WCF services. So in here, let me see. None of these features are required. Let me quickly go with the full screen so you guys can easily see it. All right. But something in here we need as part of the features. And let me see how I can identify messaging queue. Yeah. All right. So if I come back in here, I just need to identify where those options are, which is asking for me remote server, some SMB, I don't window PowerShell, Windows activation. Yeah, I think it must be back in here. Okay, so let me just open all of them because I'm not able to find them on the other side. So IIS API extension is already selected. IIS API filter is request monitor. All right. So let's see if we can find the request monitor. It's in here. That's good. We need dynamic content compression, which I have just seen somewhere in here. There we go. All right. And request monitor is there. HTTP activation is enabled. Do we need redirection? No, we don't need redirection. So I think we are all good. We don't need, I'm just using the .NET extensibility 3.5. We can also, let's do the 4.8 as well, just to make sure that it's not going to impact on any dependency, because we are going with the we are going with 2022. So I think we have selected all the right option. Let's hit next. Yeah, it is asking for me to check the activation. Yeah, we need to add it because that's what MDS required. So I've select that. Now let me hit again next. You need to specify. Okay, so it's asking me, let's see, do you need to specify alternate source path, one or more? Let's see if I have attached the because my drive doesn't have. So let me quickly attach the ISO file. And server evaluation. I think it's the same. See, yeah. Now I believe that that's the right one. Yeah. So let's see. How about if it can detect? No, I don't need to. Do you need to specify? No. Let's see. If it asks me the source, I'll just provide the source because I've already now mount my server DVD to my virtual drive of the guest machine. So theoretically, it should identify and pick the file from there. So I'm going to pause the video in here because it's now going to take some time, and I'll come back once it has finished. All right, guys, the installation has completed again, and now let me just close this wizard and just for the, let me just close this one as well for the cleaning purpose and bring it back. All right, so now it's still configure information not this here. Check if WCF service HTTP. So we only have one error left. So I'm gonna go back and I'll add role and feature, and I'll see if I can find the activation for WCF. Let me bring the Small. Bear with me. I just need to bring, yeah. So WCF. All right. So let me see if I can. It's not going to be. So there's only one option which is missing, and I know it's a painful activity, but we need to go in here to make sure we are only covering the minimal option. Let me just go to the feature and see if I can find from there. WCF activation. There we go. All right. So we have the WCF service, and in here we have the HTTP activation. So let me just add that feature, and I believe that will now remove the last error. So that's where we have the WCF HTTP activation for the WCF service. We are not going to activate any other service at this stage. Let me just hit next, install. Hopefully this time it won't take much time because the service, the feature is only one that we are trying to install. So you can see it's relatively quick. Just give a couple of seconds. Hopefully, yeah, it's going well. And meanwhile, what I can do, let me take out this guy. Let me just close the configuration wizard while the feature has been installed. Okay, it's all done. Let me close it, come back on the 2022, launch the MDS, and there we go. We install all the prereq for our master data services to be configured. So now you can see the we have a green tick. So that means we are good to go for the next step. Now, as a next step, we're going to create the database configuration. And in order to do it, what we need to hit the create database. If you have the existing database, you can select that database, or if you have the existing database from the older version, you can upgrade the database, right? And for somehow, if you your database or your MDS has been corrupted, you can repair it, right? Because it's a new server. I'm gonna create from the scratch. So yeah, that's my server, and I'm going to use my current user. By the way, we can use the SQL Server account, or we can use the Active Directory account. Excuse me. So because it's this server is not joined with any domain network, so I'll just use my current user, and let me hit connectivity. Yeah, I'm able to connect, which is good. Let me click next. Now we at this point we have opportunity. We can give it a custom name, or we can just call it MDS, Master Data Service, which is a abbreviation. So you can give it any name. And generally, the like I mentioned, the practice we put it environment name at the end or the start. Or let me just do it this way. I think that's better because it's following the existing convention. So you can see I'm creating all the databases with the prefix as AG, and then the database name, and then I have the environment prefix, right? So I'll follow the same pattern in here, right? So I'm going to use the default collation. and I hit next. Yeah, my administration account is the administrator which I'm using, but generally if we have the in production environment, we never ever use the admin account to configure any services on for our database, except I think the SQL Server agent and the database server. Even with the database engine, we have a different account than administrator, because we can set up the permission for that account based on the requirement, but never ever use your admin accounts to set up any services that will call for the trouble in the production environment. And it's not a security best practice. Microsoft has provided all the required permission for the account that is going to run the database engine as well as the SQL agent. So we're gonna follow that pattern, right? So I think at this stage we are pretty good. Because we are in the dev environment. Hit next. Yeah, SQL instance, master data services, database name, collation is default, and administration account is the administrator, which I'm using at the moment. Let's see, it's gonna take a small while to complete the configuration. Hopefully it won't take long. Let me just pause the video and come back. Right, guys, you can see the database has been successfully created. Let me go back to my SQL Server 2019, sorry, 2022 SSMS Management Studio, and let me refresh it. And like I mentioned, once you create new object on the left hand side, you're gonna see until unless you refresh it. So now as soon as I right click and hit refresh, I can see a new database has been created. And by the way, that's the MDS database. That's the system database, which you are not going to touch until unless you want to I would say, do any patch or any particular stuff that Microsoft requires. Generally, they do it through the upgrade process. Never ever try to fiddle with the default store default object. Otherwise, it's gonna impact on the functionality of the tool, right? So, but you can see everything has been created nice and clean. And now as a next step, we're going to finish that. And the only thing which is remaining now is the web configuration. Because if you remember with 2019, we have to create a web interface as part of the MDS if you want to use, because generally we interact with the master data services through the web interface or the Excel plugin, right? So as part of the configuration, the option to configure the front end is the web interface, right? Which is the last step we are going to do. So we are going to create as part of the default website. And let me just hit create. Yeah, MDS I'm going to use, and I'm not going it's asking me the username and password. Let me see if I can. I don't what I can do. Let me see. Because that is required for the pool. We can use it. We can use the same username and password. TB06 administrator. And by the way, in the production environment, this is going to be restricted user. How about if I just do this? All right, now I think I misspelled for somehow. And let me see if I'm passing the right username and password. And let me click hit OK. Yeah, MDS. So it's going to create the web portal for us that we are going to later use to interact with the master data service, right? I also need to select the database because it's going to add some configuration in the database. So the same interface, the only thing in this time, we don't need to select provide the database information because it's already created. So as soon as we hit connect, it's going to bring the database that we have recently created automatically in the database drop down. By the way, if you have multiple databases, there are different server, it's gonna read the database from that server, considering it has access to that server. Let me hit OK. And I think we are good at this stage. So let me just hit apply. It's on the bottom right side of your screen. And as soon as I hit apply, I believe it's working. So yeah, let's see. It's gonna take a while. Yeah, so everything has been applied successfully. Let me click. Oh, finger cross. I believe we're going to have our MDS up and running shortly, and you're gonna see the front end interface in here. And I think it is okay. Let me just open it in Edge as well, because I would prefer to open the MDS in the in Microsoft Edge. No particular reason, but obviously Microsoft, we are using Microsoft service, so it's better to use Microsoft browser because it works well in the Microsoft environment. Okay, so it's already working in here, but just to show you, I need to be patient. No. Okay, confirm and continue. No, I'm good. All right. Yeah, I prefer to have a dark layout. Let me just paste it in here so you can see. Get started. So there are some. So that's the opening screen. Whenever if so, it's a good sign that our master data service has been configured without any error. And I'm going to open the home screen in a separate tab. But that's something you can show to your user, through which they can go. They can look at the documentation. They can look at the videos. They can deploy some sample data just to play around in the dev environment. But obviously in the production environment, the settings are very different. So voila, we have the interface up and running. Right now, we don't have any model, we don't have any version. Most of the options are disabled because we haven't created anything, right? So as soon as we have our model ready, we're going to have the integration management enabled and version management enabled, right? There's no point for us to enable these options, considering if we don't have anything. So you can see now we have the model up and running. I'm gonna finish the video in here just to logically divide the tutorial. So in this video, we have finished the configuration of master data services in SQL Server 2022. In the next video, we're gonna create our first model, obviously the entity, and we're also going to install the master data service plugin in the Excel, right? Which you can do on your machine. If you want, if your server is different, you can install on your dev machine, and you can interact with your master data services through Excel interface, which is a normal way of interacting with the master data service, right? So if you have any question, please feel free to put your comments or reach out. More than happy to answer. I believe you like the in configuration of the master data service for SQL Server 22 as well, like you did for 2019. And I'll see you in the next one with the further configuration or the dev work. Thanks for watching.